Right, so Steve, let's talk a little bit about the network of surgeons you work with, because when I first kind of got down this path, I was really impressed with the fact that you were able to really spout off and recommend a lot of different surgeons that I should consider, whether it was all the way out in the Northwest and in Canada, whether it was in California, whether it was in New York City, and not just the surgeon that you were working with at the time when we first talked to each other. Can you tell me more about the network of surgeons you work with and why that's important to recommend different prospective patients to different surgeons and ultimately have more choices?
Absolutely, it's a great question, and I'm glad you picked that up when we first spoke. It's always been very important to me to be able to give people choices. I mean, choices are important in life and in anything that we have a option to do. And hair, for whatever reason it is, there's always a lot of skepticism, there's always a lot of distrust, and I don't know why. I think it's just part of the business ever since we go back to the days of the plugs. It's always had a black cloud over the hair restoration industry. So, instead of, giving patients information that then they have to then go to research, I just like kind of, getting diarrhea in the mouth, man, just giving them everything. And I think that comes across very honorable in regards to not representing one particular doctor. There's patients that are afraid to fly, and they can't be driving down here from Seattle, Washington, at least not the last time I checked, if they have a job. So what I've done is, through my experience and through my years and my relationships, Lance, like my relationship with you, is I've built a network of physicians that specialize in hair restoration. I won't go through the bullet points now. I think it's going to take too much time of what that criteria is. But here's what I do know. I do know that patients out there that are looking for great work, such as the work you've had, are skeptical to a point to where they're afraid of having bad work. One of the physicians that I have high regard for, one of his favorite sayings is, you have a better chance of getting a bad hair transplant than a good hair transplant. I think there's a lot of variables in some of the clinics out there that are just they change too much, and there's too much opportunity on any given day for something to go wrong. I'm not trying to use scare tactics on your viewers, Lance. The bottom line is that what you want to get started with is a list, almost like a short list of a owner of a professional football team that's looking to hire a coach. They don't just go after one particular guy, at least not normally. They have a short list. I think there might be 4 or 5 names on there. So depending upon where the patient lives, for instance, in Europe or the Middle East, I have a phenomenal doctor, hair restoration specialist in Belgium. I've worked with him, I trust him, I know most of the staff, and I know that the patient, should they decide to choose him, is going to get a great result. And better than that, they're not going to have anything go wrong, which is what I think a lot of the patients are scared of out there. So the reason why you'll find some specialists, that means they only do hair restoration, nothing else. People feel comfortable that if that's what they do and solely do hair restoration, then if they can't do that right, they're not going to make a living. So that's just part of the criteria that I talk to the patients about, and then it comes down to these specialists are special. Their specialty is something special. Say that word too many times. The specialist could specialize in a density procedure. The specialist could specialize in hairlines. The specialist could specialize in FUE. There's micropigmentation now that is really coming around, and I'm a big fan of that for scar repair and things like that. So there's so many different little niches in the hair restoration industry, which I think is really important for people to understand that if they choose one of the doctors in my network based on any of this criteria, where they live, what type of hair they have, what their goals are, whether they're willing to use preventative treatments or not, all these different criteria, then at least they know, coming to Steve, that they're not going to have anything go wrong. That I can promise them. Once we get past that point, it really comes down to who they feel most comfortable with. And I think that that's where I step away, and that's where they make that decision, is who do they feel would best suit their needs. And as long as I set them up with the right doctors, I have no problem whatsoever in letting that doctor take over from there.
For sure. And if you want to learn more about the network of doctors that Steve works with and whom I've been introduced to, I will have Steve's contact information in the video description and on my blog, so you can take a further look. And as always, you can also contact me as well if you want to learn more about the doctor who did my previous 2 procedures, who gave me an excellent result, as well as the doctor who did my FUE procedure as well.